There are stories that sound invented the moment you hear them. And then there are stories that survive so long across so many generations that they begin feeling less like fiction and more like memory. The Bell Witch is one of those stories. Long before horror films, before ghost hunting television, before internet urban legends, people in rural Tennessee were already whispering about something inside the Bell family farmhouse. Something invisible, something intelligent, and according to the legend, something that wanted a man dead. The story begins in the early 1800s, near the small settlement of Adams, Tennessee. At the time, the Bell family seemed ordinary. John Bell was a farmer, religious, respected, living quietly with his wife and children on isolated land surrounded by woods and farmland. For a while, nothing seemed unusual. Then strange things started appearing around the property. John Bell reportedly saw strange animals watching him from the fields. Creatures that did not look entirely natural. A dog with glowing eyes. A bird too large to identify. Something resembling a rabbit sitting unnaturally still in the dark. At first, the family ignored it. Then the sounds started. Knocking inside the walls. Chains dragging across the floor at night. Whispers no one could fully understand. The noises grew louder over time. Blankets were pulled violently from beds. Children woke screaming in the middle of the night. Footsteps moved through empty rooms after midnight. But the entity seemed especially interested in one person, John Bell's daughter, Betsy. According to witnesses, the unseen force targeted her relentlessly. Her hair was yanked while she slept. Invisible hands slapped and scratched her. Her bed shook violently during the night. And unlike most haunting stories, the Bell family claimed this thing was not mindless. It reacted. It listened. Eventually, people began claiming the entity could speak. At first, the voice sounded weak and distorted, barely understandable. But over time, it supposedly became clearer. The voice answered questions, repeated conversations it should not have heard, quoted scripture, and eventually it gave itself a name, Kate, the Bell Witch. News of haunting spread quickly through Tennessee. Neighbors visited the farmhouse hoping to witness the phenomenon themselves. And many claimed they did. Some heard whispers, others heard scratching sounds moving across the walls. A few claimed they felt invisible hands touching them inside the house. Even more unsettling, the entity seemed selective, cruel towards some people, friendly toward others, almost human. And according to legend, the story became so famous that the future United States President Andrew Jackson traveled to the Bell property himself after hearing rumors about the haunting. And most famous quote attributed to him was, "I'd rather fight the British again than fight the Bell Witch." Nobody knows whether he truly said those words, but the fact people believed he might have says everything about how terrifying the legend became. And then the story turned darker, because over time, John Bell's health began getting worse and worse rapidly. He suffered strange attacks, periods of paralysis, violent pain, difficulty speaking. The family became convinced the entity was killing him slowly. Then one morning in 1820, John Bell was found unresponsive. Near his bed sat a small vial containing an unknown dark liquid, According to the legend, the Bell Witch itself claimed responsibility. Some versions of the story say the entity left after John Bell died. Others say it disappeared from the house temporarily after finally getting what it wanted. Officially, of course, there is no proof any supernatural force killed John Bell. Historians suggest poisoning, illness, religious hysteria, manipulation, or fabricated folklore passed through generations until it transformed into mythology. And maybe they're right. But the unsettling thing about the Bell Witch story is how personal it feels. This was not a haunted castle, not an abandoned asylum, not a cursed mansion hidden on a hill. It was a family home, a farmhouse, a place that should have felt safe. And maybe that is why the legend survived for more than 200 years. Because deep down, people are terrified by one specific idea: that something invisible could enter an ordinary home, learn your name, listen while you sleep, and decide it does not want you there anymore.